You were a scary kid, man.
Oh my God.
I didn't make Froopyland to get rid of you, Beth. I did it to protect the neighborhood. Not in a noble sense. It was just more practical to sequester you before I had to start, cloning a replacement for every less than polite little boy or gullible animal that might cross your sociopath.
The latest episode of Rick and Morty showed us what a terrifying little kid Beth was and just how close that almond fell to the Rick tree. Before we get into it, we're giving away this Snuffles Snowball Funko Pop. To get into the contest, just be a subscriber and click the link in the description below. It's the easiest thing to do since eating your weird Muppet offspring. Now let's break down Rick and Morty Season 3, Episode 9, The ABCs of Beth. This episode's title is The ABCs of Beth, which is a play on the horror film ABCs of Death. That film is a horror anthology and has nothing to do with cannibalism or Muppets at all.
Can we talk a little bit more about this Froopy?
Not the bubble gun, there's no air!
Rick showed off a few new devices in this episode. The bubble gun, which transports people to a given destination without letting air pass through. A plug-and-play self-cauterizing cybernetic appendage, just in case he loses one. It has an embedded genetic core sampling scanner and a beam weapon. A collapsed quantum tesseract in the shape of a sidewalk chalk. A tesseract is the closest thing we can get to a 4D representation of a cube. A tesseract is to a cube what a cube is to a square. It's like 2D to 3D to 4D. Finally, Rick created an entire world for Beth, complete with procedurally generated clouds. He also showed off a box of the worst children's toys ever.
If you're so great at naming things, why don't you do it from now on?
What?
Froopyland. Was it my best work? I don't know. Does it deserve to be shit on creatively?
For a guy who doesn't care, Rick sure is sensitive about Beth saying potentially negative things about Froopyland. We all know that Rick is pretty sensitive about his creations, like with Pirates of the Pancreas.
Pirates of the Pancreas?
Got a problem with that last one, Morty?
Huh?
A dad makes a toilet look like R2-D2 and it breaks the front page of Reddit. But I'm Charles Manson because I gave you your own world instead of an iPad.
I don't think this is a reference to any actual R2-D2 shaped toilet. It's just talking about the weird shit that we like to upvote on Reddit. I did find an R2-D2 toilet, though. It doesn't look like R2-D2, it sounds like R2-D2. Also, if you don't know who Charles Manson is, it's not your fault, he's old. He was a serial killer in the late 60s who had a sex murder cult and now has a swastika tattoo on his forehead.
Listen, I've been giving you a pass because I'm charmed that life finds a way, but...
Rick is commenting here that despite being in a sterile environment in which none of the animals had the ability to procreate, they somehow did procreate. This line is actually from Jurassic Park, and the plot of this is basically the same, only instead of Muppets, it's dinosaurs, and instead of a kid named Tommy humping everything, it's frog DNA.
Life, finds a way.
Am I evil?
Worse, you're smart. When you know nothing matters, the universe is yours. And I've never met a universe that was into it.
Here, Rick is describing his own mental state and Beth's potential mental state through existential crisis-inducing terminology yet again. For this episode, Beth made a ton of realizations. Namely, she's very much like her father, which is something we've all known since the Pickle Rick episode and the therapy session. The realization for Beth that the things that she dismissed as childhood make-believe are real would actually be horrific. Could you imagine if the floor actually was lava all this time?
I am jealous of Tommy's friends and his Nintendo. And his dad likes
This
it.
play may be an homage to the Game of Thrones Season 6, royal parody play, but we do learn that Beth actually really did leave Tommy in Froopyland. The part about Beth being jealous of Tommy having a father who likes him was way too real for it to be
Fake news.
Most of the things that Beth asked Rick for were pretty creepy.
A teddy bear with anatomically correct innards.
The teddy bear with anatomically correct organs in it, with cuts and sutures in it, foreshadows that she becomes a surgeon later. And it always seems like she was doing surgery on animals.
I can make a clone of you. A perfect instance of you with all your memories, an exact copy in every way. It'll love and provide for the kids, do your job. The moment you decide to come back, I flip a switch, and the clone's job is done. It feels no pain, regrets nothing, and has zero chance of going Blade Runner.
So at the end of this episode, I think Beth is a clone for two reasons. One, she's completely fine after that whole experience of killing a bunch of Muppets and chopping off her friend Tommy's finger. And two, Rick actually hugs her. Rick would never hug his real daughter. He knows that this clone of his daughter is just projecting love, and he can turn her off at any time, so what's the harm? Also, Rick makes a reference to Blade Runner, which is a film about clones that exhibit human traits and are subsequently hunted down for it.
By the way, that wasn't time travel. There were just a couple pizzas on the counter. I grabbed them.
There's no time travel involved in the plot because of how Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland feel about time travel. It doesn't make plots better, it makes them confusing.
Because time travel is a real shark jumper.
Yes, it is.
Once you introduce into the canon of your show, it's just a dangerous toy to pull out.
Jerry is soul bonded with a Crutabulan priestess named Kiara, and having sex with her gives him telekinesis, which he puts into use in a standard Jerry fashion.
Kiara and I met on that interstellar dating service Rick was always suggesting when your mom and I were together.
Kiara and Jerry met on Interstellar Tinder, which we all know is basically the Rebound app. Also, this is more evidence that Rick was just trying to ruin Beth and Jerry's relationship. Kiara has 3 breasts, which reminds me of Total Recall, kind of a mix of Predator and the Na'vi from Avatar. She reminds Jerry of Chitara from the Thundercats. The race Kiara is there to hunt is called the Variks. They seem to be a Nosferatu-looking alien with predator mouths.
A Chimantolo.
Chimantolo, younglings.
Morty already knew the Crutabulan greeting. Morty is not the dude he was in the first season. He's like as wise as Rick as a 14-year-old, but just with none of the technological ability. Morty is clearly the expert of alien situations. Summer calls him Isaac Asshole, referencing the science fiction writer Isaac Asimov, who's known for writing over 500 books and coming up with the 3 laws of robotics. I didn't find the exact relation to this scene in any of those books because I didn't feel like reading the synopsis for 500 Isaac Asimov books, but if you know if there's a direct reference to this scene, let me know on Twitter at Buddy Hutton, or just keep it to yourself, like a selfish Rick. King Tommy the Muppet Eater, living in a padded room of make-believe and needing to eat his own offspring to survive, seemed to me to be a commentary on people who are sheltered becoming sociopaths because the decisions they make are all based on personal survival instead of societal rules. The irony is that while Tommy is away humping Muppets and eating his own offspring to survive, his own father in the real world is falsely charged with murder and cannibalism. And when Tommy is confronted with this, he doesn't see what the problem is with eating people.
People think your dad ate you. So? You doy-oy? People should eat people.
I hate to see her leave, but I love to watch her face shift away.
The standard creepy dad phrase is, I hate to see her leave, but I love seeing her walk away. What Jerry says here doesn't make any sense, but still seems to be creepy.
Hymen Cholo.
Summer says hymen cholo, which is a compound word made up of part of this female sexual organ and a word for a Mexican-American gangster. The Froopyland spears kind of look like sex toys and don't really do much damage when they hit Beth. Rick makes a Rotten Tomatoes reference.
Certified fresh.
And on the fridge you see a picture of Mr. Poopy Butthole with Rick. There are a few meta jokes in this episode.
Here's some things an adventure needs, Beth. Conflict, stakes, a way for me to benefit, and clearly Morty.
Here, Rick shows yet again that he's at least very aware of the narrative structure of his life. A good story needs confrontation, a reason for the audience to care about it, and a believable reason for the hero of the story to be involved. He also says it needs a Morty, and while he may be saying Morty is better than Beth, the last part may be a nod to the fact that Rick knows he is actually on the show Rick and Morty.
Doo-doo butt. Doo-doo butt. No.
The song Rick is writing here is called Doo-Doo Butt. The full song plays under the cloning montage, and the lyrics are, I got a doo-doo in my butt, and I don't know what to do with the doo-doo in my butt. But I know that a father should say to you that he's proud of you. Every daughter is a doo-doo from a father's butt. Biologically speaking, the butt is a nut, and every father's father is wrong, and there isn't a song that can change that. I have no idea how to interpret that. I'm sorry.
You heard your daddy, Morty. You have to leave school. Wait, what are my values?
In 3 lines, the writers of the show completely destroy the bully without a cause narrative. He makes fun of Morty and then questions his entire moral standards. Bully cliches are a common meta-joke punching bag for the writers of this show. Like Frank Palicki from the pilot episode, who was a rich kid who was mad because he was a rich kid.
Now I'm gonna cut you.
Finally, using an old answering machine for exposition and then mentioning that you're using an old answering machine for exposition is as meta-joke as you can get.
Don't jump a gift shark in the mouth.
The 2 mixed sayings here are don't look a gift horse in the mouth and jumping the shark. You can check how old or sickly a horse is by looking at its teeth. So the saying don't look a gift horse in the mouth means don't check to see how old or sickly your horses if you got it for free. Jumping the Shark is a reference to the 70s, 80s sitcom Happy Days. The show was getting more and more desperate to retain viewership until one of the lead characters, the Fonz, Jumping the Shark is used to indicate that a show has finally run out of ideas. It's reached its peak and it will never be the same again. From now on, everything's downhill. In this case, the offer to clone Beth is a gift, but it also may be seen as a desperate plot device. Regardless of all that, Beth is definitely a clone now.
Dad, you just got handed an Ex Machina. You taking it?
An Ex Machina is something introduced suddenly that provides a solution to an issue. In this case, Kiara is about to kill the family when her ex-boyfriend, who just happens to be on Earth, shows up and inadvertently saves the day. Lastly, I asked my friends on Twitter what the Japanese sign said in the back of this sushi restaurant. Apparently, one says Heart of Buddha and another is Dokodo, or the Path of Aloneness. Okay, that's all I found. Make sure you guys get in that contest for the Snowball Funko Pop, and add me on Twitter at Buddy Hutton if you ever want to help me, look up weird Japanese in the back of sushi restaurants. Or, if you want to tell me I suck, you can do that too on Twitter. Anyway, thanks for watching. I love you.